Well, welcome in everyone. We are so delighted you're joining us for our last session of our third season. Very exciting. This session, as many of you know, is a artist roundtable and express session. So we will be going for an hour today. If this is your first time, we would like to give you a very warm welcome to the Emergence family. And for those of you who are joining us again, it is so great to see you, and we really value you coming back and sharing all your wonderful thoughts and hearing from our panelists. Now, we would love to start today's session by first acknowledging that this session comes to you from the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, including the traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We would also like to acknowledge the generous support of Creative BC and the province of British Columbia, City of Vancouver, and our host organization, Red Chamber Cultural Society. A little housekeeping. Today's session is being live streamed to our Facebook page. A friendly reminder to please mute your mic unless you're speaking. If you need to leave briefly, please turn off your video until you return. Our sessions are interactive, so we certainly welcome any questions from you. You can feel free to write your questions in the chat, use the raise hand function, speak to us directly. If you would like to stay anonymous, you can feel free to message me, Lola. I'll be your tech help and host today, and I'll be sure to get your question heard. Our sessions are all edited and uploaded to our YouTube and Facebook. So after today's session today, if there's anything that you would like edited out or removed, please just shoot us an email and we'll be sure to do that. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panel today. Today we have with us core mentor, Krystle dos Santos. Krystle dos Santos is an accomplished singer, songwriter, and performer. Dos Santos grew up in Edmonton and her roots are Guyanese. Dos Santos released her debut award-winning album in 2008, her second highly sophisticated and elevated album in 2011, titled Femme Fatale, and her most recent project, Bloom Burn, which awarded her the WCMA for R&B Artist of the Year in 2020. From singing on stage with Stevie Wonder, to performances in Dreamgirls 2013, Chelsea Hotel 2018, and on stages all around North America. With her original theatre productions, Black, Hey Viola, and a Motown school show for kids, Dos Santos brings her electric style, powerful vocal prowess, and magnetic charm to every performance she delivers. Welcome, Krystle.
Hey, everybody. Happy last session. So jazzed to be here, to be at the end of this amazing run, to see all your faces so recurrently. It's just been fantastic. So I will just get on with what we're talking about today, which is the secrets of a fabulous show. I'm so very excited about this because this is one of my favorite things. Like, a lot of people ask me if I teach vocals, and I always say, no, I don't think that I have the technical, musical ability to be able to relay what I know to other people, but I can certainly, and I love the sort of technical part of performance and creating a really cool, fun show for people. I think, well, we were talking as we were beginning the session about some school shows that I just did this past week. And I think kids are some of the most honest audience members that you can perform to. So if you can't engage children, then you probably can't engage adults either. I found mostly through that, but also through regular performance to, more grown-up audiences, that some of the most compelling and engaging techniques are just being yourself, like literally finding your own self in banter and creating a sort of comfort with the audience and getting them in on the joke or inviting them into your house for a drink and a snack. You know what I mean? That's my sort of secret. As we were going through our prep session with our amazing esteemed guest Bonnie today, we were talking about humor. I think throwing a little humor in and self-deprecating humor is my jam when I'm on stage. I can't talk to you like that if we're in a conversation, but when I'm on stage, somehow it's just like an automatic alternate, personality that comes in and tells these jokes that I would never come up with that quickly. So I don't know what it is, but I feel like that creative stream kind of flows through my brain in that sense. Also, anything interactive will engage an audience, like singing along to a song, clapping along. Again, it's sort of like getting them in on the joke, but at the same time, it gets their blood flowing. They feel like they're creating with you. Again, especially for kids, but adults are just large kids. So, I mean, I'm referring to that in a lot of ways, but to me, those are the hacks that I've found. And another thing is just loving what you're performing, right? Like if you love what you're doing and you're genuinely having a great time and feel good, confident, proud of the material that you're offering, then I think you just sort of get a better performance out of it. There's a lot more technical stuff to go through, like lighting and staging and engaging the audience in sort of a real, kind of patterned or format kind of a way, but we can talk about that later. But yeah, I'm just real jazzed about this whole subject. So we'll dive in after. Take it away. Next guest.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Krystle. And we are so delighted to have with us today guest mentor, Bonnie Soon. Bonnie Soon is a professional taiko drummer and incorporates choreography and theatrical elements with the festival drumming style of Japan. She creates new work for taiko drums, often in collaboration with musicians and artists from diverse cultures and art forms. She has performed as a solo artist and has spent the majority of her professional career in Canada's first professional taiko group, Uzume Taiko. Bonnie has served as the artistic director for over 20 years and the administrator for 10 years. The troupe has an active history presenting evening concerts, festival events, and youth performances nationally and internationally. Bonnie began her performing career as a dancer touring with Pula Ross and Kokoro dance companies and Snake in the Grass Moving Theatre. She has professional credits in stage management and has worked in media production. Welcome, Bonnie. We are so delighted to have you today.
Thank you, Lola. And I just want to thank Darcy, Krystle, and the Red Chamber Society for inviting me to participate today. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming and joining the session. It's really important, the work you're doing. And I would agree with everything that Krystle said. What makes a spectacular show is your comfort on stage and your love of what you're doing. If that is genuine, then I'd say that's pretty number one for how the energy is going to come across. It's been a long time for me, my journey through performance, and I'm quite a shy person, and so being in front of an audience was quite difficult, and still is if I don't kind of have my head in the right place. So I'd say it's always a challenge especially when you're doing new material a lot, that you're not sure, okay, is this gonna hit the mark? And the longer you stay in an art form, the audiences change, as do, flavors of what people want, textures, what they want to see, hear. So I think having a really great sense of active listening and checking how your audience is responding to the things that you're doing and trying is very important to note. I'd say I would be just sort of not in stage fright mode, but a lot of the times, yes, where I'm just like, trying to remember everything and get it out and not see a single thing, not be able to recount any kind of, I was like putting up a wall so that nothing that could come in would throw me off my energy or what I had to do. Because I think one of my youngest experiences, I saw someone in the audience that I knew, and I just blanked, and I was dancing, and I just danced off stage, and everyone followed me because I was the first one, and I was just horrified, and so I just was like, okay, from now on, okay, just don't see anyone, And it's just interesting, especially if you're in a group of colleagues. After a show, everyone will have a different story of what they saw or noticed in the audience. And I'm still constantly kind of amazed at how much I miss. But overall, I'd say, gratefully that I have great colleagues who we just chat and massage it and realize what's happening. But more, I'd say I start reflecting on how I felt inside about how it was going, because I'm not absolutely, I don't ignore the process. You kind of have flashbacks after the shows, and you remember, if you have a mind like a lot of performers, it just goes back in slow motion, everything that happened. And so you can kind of tell when the audience was really with you, and when, there's arcs to your show. So, you'll know when they've kind of had enough of something, or when they're leaning forward in their seats, they're just so want to know what's going to happen next, or just when they're relaxed and with you. So, in any given show, I think it's important to build arcs and know, points of power, calm, relax, intimate, just like how you want to feel when you get together and have like a great chat with a friend, give and take, but you want to feel like you connected. And what, you want to know they heard you, but they also want to know you hear them in a way. Like, you can't ignore how they're feeling, and giving them time to clap and appreciate you. So the interactive thing is very important, and expressing something of yourself so that you're not a stranger. By the end, I think if they all feel they know you better and the characters in your group, then I think you've done a good job, because everyone loves a story, and the more stories they can learn about while they follow you on your journey, it just helps them reflect on things that have happened in their lives. And I think we're all hoping to inspire and motivate people to just keep going. And so that would be something.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. What a delight to hear. And now I would love to introduce our third panelist today, core mentor Darcy Hahn, also known as Zizi. Beijing-born, Vancouver-raised, Zizi started playing piano at the age of 4. She made her vocal debut on Chinese national TV at age 7. Zizi sings in English and Mandarin, encompassing pop, soul, blues, jazz, and world music. She has performed at the Vancouver International Jazz Festival and toured China, the US, as well as parts of Europe and the Caribbean. In 2017, Zizi appeared on Sing, China's The Voice, and earned a spot in the top 10. An honorary member of the Canadian Association of Songwriters, Zizi co-writes, produces, and collaborates with songwriters, producers, artists, and performers from both North America and Asia. Committed to bridging people through music, she is a cultural ambassador. Welcome, Darcy.
Thank you, Loa. Thanks, everyone. Note to self, always go first. The two of you have literally said everything I plan to say in my intro. So just to echo on both of you, what you said, I think, I identify very much with everything that Bonnie has said. I'm also a pretty shy person. It's taken me a lot to feel remotely comfortable on stage, So I think for me, the first step is always to put myself in the right mental space. And I do that very similar to what Krystle has shared. I think of this as, the people have already bought the tickets. There is no need to impress them. They're in, they're here for you. So all you're doing is inviting them into your living room, and you're just sharing with them what you have to offer and who you are, and just be, it's like having a get together in your living room. So that's how I kind of frame my mind before a show, and that's an important part of the process for me. I think the other thing I wanted to just open with is, definitely be prepared. You have to get real and honest with your expectations. You're only as good as your last rehearsal. So practice and be prepared and know what you're doing. And I want to get into that part a little bit more in details later, just in terms of scripting out the show. It gets a bit technical, but we can definitely get into those details later on. So I do want to start with just echoing that mental space piece. I think it's very important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Darcy, and all of our panelists this morning. Now, I would love to open up the floor for further discussion on this topic. If anyone has a question, please feel to bring it up. Mentors, we can have a free-flowing discussion now. You can share any other thoughts you might have.
Maybe you're planning to speak about it. Thanks for your intros, but a couple of you mentioned more details, technical details. So I'm looking for some of those, hoping that we have time to get to that. Darcy mentioned scripting the show, and I think Krystle mentioned lighting. And I'm particularly have a few questions about if I have lighting ideas and desires, how do I take that to different concert venues? And if we're lucky enough to have a lighting tech, what information can I provide them so that they can do a dramatic lighting at a certain spot? Is there a software program I should use, or is there an industry standard? Or I'm curious about that kind of stuff in particular.
Bonnie, I think, do you want to take a stab at that?
Well, it's a real range of venues that you can be going into. So first off is to check, what are they offering you? There's no point worrying about it if they don't have any instruments. So it's good to have a variety of plots, lighting design plots that suit different venues. So if they only have 20 lighting instruments, that's very basic. You're going to get very basic lighting that illuminates you, gives you a few feels, but you're not going to have wow, pow, and extreme, it may not become an element to your show. So lighting is like another creative component that can really elevate and be another partner for your communication. So, first off, if you know the range, from even just 3 to like 30 or more venues that you're going to, that's when you have a production manager, or if you're wearing all the hats and you care that much about your lighting, then you contact the technical director from that venue and you get their lighting plot, their magic sheet. This is if you have your own lighting designer who's going to go in there and create it for you. Generally, if you don't have that kind of support, I come with a song sheet and I'll say if some things that help you, or sometimes they have like a cyclorama, which is like a white screen, and they can project images on it or have colors. And that's just a different background than the drapes, so you can get amber, blue, green, or you can project images on it, or just patterns. So I might have something like for a zesty tune, I might have bright backs, like amber backs and bright whites. For something moody, it'll be like blue psych and blue wash one spot on the soloist, that kind of thing. So I'll try to direct where I'm hoping the audience will generally see. You visualize what you hope they'll see during a given part of your show, and you just generally keep it simple, like what for really simple things, just like amber psych, low blue wash for changeover. On this song we want one look, and that'll get you through enough so that they will have some variation in what they're seeing. To ask for blackouts, how you want to just finish and then like black, just know that that's really hard to get that effect. It's wonderful if you have that effect, because pardon me, it gives you a chance to just like go, oh my God, and reset in the black, and then kind of be, refreshed and can continue. But blackouts just take a lot of time for the lighting operator to practice with you, if that's what you're hoping for. So just know, if you're going in with lighting, it is a wonderful, tremendous tool that we invest in my group, but it takes an extra person. It takes about, oh God, 3 to 4 hours every day to set up good lighting in every new venue if you're moving around. And this is even if you have all of the cues loaded onto a disc that you plug in, to the lighting board. So we've actually brought our own gear, like rented a board where we are, and just bring the board, and we spend the first day there just loading cues so that we can plug that in when we travel instead. Like otherwise it's just hours and hours of time in the studio that you pay for, and pretty much in every venue you have to focus the lights so that they're exactly where you want them to be, and that takes like, oh God, 2 or more hours, and then you have to program up and down all the levels of the lights. Just know it's an extremely valuable tool, but we're talking about a lot of money, investment, and person power. So it's great. I love it, of course, but it's an expense that's just, if you want control and you want to know what everything looks like, that's what you have to do. Otherwise, you kind of go and you trust the technicians there, and you have a general sheet of what you hope to see, and you trust them enough to let them go for it, and that can happen as well. But you should still have a song sheet with, this is light and bright, this is moody, this is about, a sad song, or, just give them some emotional range. And if you know someone is doing something real special, then just say, the spotlight's on this person. Have little pictures of each song so they can be as helpful as possible to, it's like having a roadmap, giving someone instructions for a recipe that they have tools, but they have no idea how to mix up the cake. And it's up to you to try as possible not to overwhelm them, but to simplify and not expect too much, but just pick your points where you want it to be like really important, and then just be grateful if they do what you hope, and mostly always be nice to people. Be nice and grateful, because you're relying on them to help you make, look good. And so it's best not to piss anyone off, which can happen if you have these expectations and you're just like, how good it can be, but if they're just not, if the mix isn't going, you just have to cut it, cut your losses. I've actually been in shows where I know the lights are supposed to change, and I know they're not changing, and I'm letting it bug me, and I'm thinking, no, don't let that bug me. It's okay, but that's how crazy it can get. Is the more hats you wear and the more you know what's supposed to happen in the show, and you're also performing in the show. At some point you have to just know that your job at that moment is to perform, and you do the best thing you can up to that moment, and then you have to that's part of the job, is just be able to separate, give yourself time to not be the technical person anymore. And I hope I just didn't talk a lot, but yes, I think lighting is great. Educate as much as you can, and if you have friends or colleagues that can help you, talk about it, learn about it, just so you know what things are called. And since everything has changed from incandescent to, like, there's lots of LED lights and stuff now, it's quite different. And so I'd say if you're from old school, like 30 years ago, like me, we're very old school. There's just a whole new bunch of technology and effects that are available today that is really worth investing and learning about. It never stops, the learning. But the process, I think, is the same. Yeah.
That was wonderful, Bonnie. Thank you so much. Did that happen to spark any related questions? Anyone have any further questions on technical aspects of shows?
Yeah, it's no, I don't. It's not so much technical when it comes to lighting or staging, but it's really, I guess, a list, just on scripting of the show. It's a list of things that have helped me over the years. So I thought I would bring them up and share. And, just keep in mind, like, these are the things that have helped me, but it may not work for everyone. So one thing I think that's important to remember is your show is a show the moment that you walk on stage until you leave that stage. So you treat that period of time, with care. It's like an actor's performance. Lola, this. If you go on camera, like, everything you're doing, every movement you're moving, there should be intention behind it. So I think I try to use that same mentality for my shows as well, even though I'm not. I mean, I am kind of acting, I guess, in a way, as a singer as well. So this will help maintain the energy of the show, and people don't, they'll be in it with you throughout. The first thing for me is working out the timing of the show. So, that involves the set list design, right? The dynamic of the show. So you map it out and you try it, you record it, watch, and then make adjustments. I think that's a really important step. Rehearse what you're going to say about each of the pieces, the songs, if you're going to say something, if you're not just going from song directly into another song, and know when that you're doing that. If you want to share a very heartfelt story that you want to tell around the song, then know when you're going to do that and what kind of story you want to tell. What jokes, it's back to what Krystle said. What kind of jokes are you going to make and where before you go into a song? How do you involve the audience in that if you want to? Or maybe you're doing a banter with somebody else on stage. So, it may be helpful to practice that interaction with your other band members for that particular banter. Sometimes, obviously, things organically happen and the spontaneity is also good, but it usually takes time and years to get to that point. Rehearse the band introduction. Is there a more creative way that you wanna use to introduce the band? How are they going to do their solos? Maybe while you're introducing them, and where in the set that is, and how that helps with the entire dynamic of the show. Do you have guest performers that are going to join you on stage? How do you plan on bringing them on stage? Where do you put them in the show? So I think those are just some of the details that I know when I put together something, I have to, it's like a checklist. You do spend time on each of these things, and then you rehearse, you record, you watch it, and then you assess, and then make adjustments. Kind of boring, but I think these things need to be said. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Krystle, if you want to echo on any of these points, elaborate, but these are some of the things I've learned over the years.
Yeah, no, as you were talking, I was just typing in the chat that Tom Jackson we've mentioned him before, but I saw a live at CMW, a live coaching session that he had with, what was her name? Divine Brown. And it was totally like transformative to watch how he changed her set to sort of mapping out the stage to the different points and stuff. Like, a lot of people don't go to the far left and right corners of the stage, physically walking, including myself. I find myself sticking to behind the mic stand on the front, middle, center of the stage, but it's open for your design and for your freedom to go and interact. Maybe, a very powerful moment happens and you can design your show as improvisationally and spontaneously as you want, or you can plan every single move depending on your comfort level. And you can, as Darcy said, you can plan out your band introductions, which I love. Actually, I've done that before in like a Motown setting, where I'll take a song that we just played, the band will come right down to sort of like a very chill vibe of, say, the same song. And then as you're sort of in that nice kind of cushiony vibe of the song, then you say, I'd like to introduce my band tonight. Thank you all for being here. These people have really supported me along the way. Please welcome Jamie Philp to the stage, or on guitar today, right? And then he'll take a moment to solo a good 30 seconds, a good 24 bars or something, to really show who he is. And I like doing that even with backing vocalists, because it really, you hear guitar solos, you hear piano solos, you hear a drum solo, but how often does a backing vocalist get to sort of like really shine as well, if that's your format? I mean, we're talking about a large format performance there, anywhere from 6 to 10 piece band. But even if it's a small situation, even if you're just sat there with a guitar on your lap and you never intend to leave your stool, there are certainly ways that you can sort of like turn the spotlight to other people, even if it's just like an audible direction. And even if you are sitting in a cafe or somewhere without the technical ability.
Here, I don't know what the computer's not doing anything.
Sorry,
no, it's not.
And everybody mute their mics there. And you can, even in the most intimate of non-technical settings, you're able to just sort of redirect, and be able to spotlight people even with an audible cue. So I think thinking about all those little things, I mean, I completely agree with everything that Bonnie and Darcy have said. And I think it's really dependent on what your intentions are as well. I think when I was younger or halfway, like in my career, I really wanted this theatrical element. I wanted the show to feel like an entire production. And no matter what it was, I really wanted it to feel really polished and almost to have like a script. But, I've actually learned that it's exactly the opposite. Once I got that sort of structure and awareness in myself, I actually quite enjoy a lot more spontaneity. And the people that I work with are able to sort of, kind of pick up the cues or the whatever based on what I say, like if I'm doing also, that's another good thing to actually talk about now is hand signals for your band. Hand signals are huge. Communicate with your band in rehearsal what this means, what this means, what this means, what, all of that stuff. Have your own signals, have a universal signal, do whatever you want. But if you want the band to quiet down, let them know during that rehearsal time, or even if you're just stepping on stage and you're playing with them cold for the first time, just be like, yo, if I want to speed up, just follow me, I'll give you some signals, right? Or you can audibly say in a song, bring the band back, right? Bridge, like it's okay, people totally get that, right? And your band probably is going to be pretty responsive, depending on their professionalism and experience, which a lot of people usually are already there with you. But I mean, I'm talking about a whole different aspect than a big technical show. But sorry to keep talking, but I also do Hey Viola, which has its own lighting designer, and it's extremely choreographed. It's a scripted, very specific show. Nothing changes in that show unless it's something that an audience member yells to me and I have a very short ad-libbed, sort of improvised response to them. But otherwise, it's very, very scripted. It is literally a scripted show. And, sometimes those things are just as powerful because it's a brand new audience every night. But in, your most intimate coffee, sort of cafe settings, you can also have those same elements, but it's like, this is going to be a terrible, my analogies are terrible, everybody, but I'm going to say it's like having cinnamon in everything you do. You can sprinkle cinnamon and it can be a constant flavor in all of your, cakes that you're baking, performances that you're doing, but what you can have is sort of a consistency as to how you like to do it. And then finally, in regards to lighting and how your stage looks, I mean, make it your own. If you want to bring a lamp and a side table, I saw an Emily King concert where it was just, I thought it was going to be a full band. It was just her and her producer guitarist. She had a lamp on stage with a coffee table or a side table that was turned on. It was so intimate and beautiful. And her accompanist, you know, he did everything. He's like a jack of all trades. He's playing guitar, he's playing electronic program stuff. He's got chimes, he's got the whole thing. And all she had to do was be her amazing self with her guitar, every once in a while taking it on and off. But you can make a vibe. You can bring some fake flowers and tack them onto your mic stand. You can have a scarf. You can have a stool and a chair. You can do so much simple stuff with basic things that you'll find in any theater, cafe, you know, stage, whatever the environment is. And you can almost, as long as you have that sort of foundation in your mind as to what you want to do, you can almost create it with anything around you as well, which is kind of exciting because it always changes, but it's always the same based on what your standards are. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, totally. I love what you just said. You know, you don't need to do what has been done, right? You can create your own and think outside the box and be different. But just, you know, I'm just gonna be militant about this, but do try it out, see if it looks good, and then make adjustments. Yeah, I do love that point. Yeah. Bonnie, is there, did you want to chime in on any of that?
Yeah, great ideas. If you are feeling like you are wondering how to make your show better, 3 things that I think about is, you know, what does it sound like? What does it look like? And how does it make you feel? So what does it sound like? So if you're doing a song about, you know, the water, then you can think of what textures could add, you know, like rain sticks or sound effect of water to lead into your song. What does it look like? You know, that would be the blue, anything blue, you know, coming, whatever texture you have. And how does it make me feel? You know, it's the delivery of how you want to communicate that piece of music. So it's all working, all senses to help support the one delivery. So for me, it's drumming, you know, and drumming is drumming, but there's so many textures you can bring to how you drum. There's choreography, there's different ways you can position your drums so they look like a boat when you're playing the water song. You can use your drumsticks like paddles. So, you know, for me, my background's in dance, so I'm always trying to think of movement and gesture as to why I'm singing this song and what it means to me. So I'm trying, you know, I don't feel words are my strength. Movement is my strength and rhythm. So I'm trying to communicate what I can't communicate through words with taiko. And you can do that, you know, around your music, in times that you aren't singing or performing. You know, you don't always have to keep your communication in one plane. You know, utilize other moments and stage, and that's the kind of flow I think Darcy's talking about, where you're not just staying at one level through the whole thing. You know, it's like, oh god, you know, they just fall asleep. So even with me, like, you know, drumming like that for 10 minutes, that's enough, you know, like if there's no variation, like it's like someone screaming at you or yelling at you or just talking nonstop without a dialogue. So so those three questions might help you with some ideas on short little props or movements or lighting, you know, or sound effects. So yeah, those are all really good ideas to give you some creative thoughts.
I really love what you just said about taking your individual songs and sort of finding an idea of the intro and the outro, or maybe how to do a really cool special, solo in the middle, or perhaps which song might serve you best to introduce your band or to tell a story in the middle of even, and you can create that dynamic not only throughout the whole show, which I think is incredibly important. Again, I had a vocal teacher who was referencing Tom Jackson, and he said, create your set list like it has a little roller coaster. You want to amp them up. The third song really maybe is one of the more popular songs, then back down again, and then back up again, and it really has an arc to your show where the biggest song that's going to have the most energy is sort of, near the end, but you also want one close to the beginning, like round 3 or 4, if you have a 10-song set. But you can also do that within songs. And I think that's really cool. Or you can create medleys, or you have transitions in between songs. I used to get so frustrated about transitions in between songs because it would just be dead silence. And I'm like, guys, can you please just play something? Like, but you have to articulate that, or you have to, create that vibe yourself, whether that's the moment for you to tell a story in that silence, or you can say, hey, I never want the band to stop, a hard stop. I kind of want the end of every song to kind of come down, but that also gets a little old. So pick and choose which one, works for that. Then you can kind of talk quietly over the music, and then you can do a big ending. Sometimes that's a really nice dynamic. But I really do love the fact that Bonnie brought up, like, creating special intros. And you don't have to do that for every song. Do that for, like, if you have a 10-song set list, do that for like 2. And then it really adds this nice polish to your show and what you're doing. There's really some simple and powerful techniques when it comes to all of that stuff. I also wanted to backtrack and say some of the coolest shows that are quite simple, but like, say for touring bands, is that screen. That's something that a lighting designer and a technical director can very easily and simply implement into your show, depending on where you are or what they have available. Sometimes just like a pull down screen and they've got a projector, or sometimes you have like a full, like, beautiful digital, like, gorgeous thing going on. But either way, you can pay somebody, like, go to Fiverr and pay somebody to create some background images for you with maybe your logo on it. Maybe that goes in the order of your set list that you have a set list. Maybe you can make it a bit interactive, like you can pop it into iMovie, create your own, and do a bunch of things to sort of like just create your background. Like, I've done shows where, I'm talking about the history of someone and I want to show their picture, or I want to show this. And it's really powerful to have different images. Or just for a very basic show, if you're in a really big theater and you're wondering, how does little old me and my 2-piece band fill up this stage, maybe it's a beautiful visual background where your logo is taking up the entirety of your backspace, or maybe there's some falling flowers, or maybe there's a nice, like, ocean background thing going on. I mean, you can take inspiration. I just went to James Taylor a few weeks ago. You can take inspiration from the biggest shows and condense them down to what you're doing, and just sort of say, okay, well, he had this like road behind him, so it looked like he was like sitting in a car driving on a road, right? And you can kind of have like that sort of thing going on. You can think of the littlest things if you have to fill those kinds of spaces. And you can also outsource. You never have to do everything by yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's a shtick that you like from an artist, steal it, right? And then do it in your own way, or in a condensed or a lower budget version of it.
That is so great. What wonderful insight from everyone. I also see we have an interesting comment in our chat here from Jill about bringing things that are comfortable for you and make you feel grounded in your performance. I'm curious if anyone else has tips or tricks alongside that, of things that help you feel grounded or comfortable, whether they be physical or mental tricks you use. Darcy, Krystle, Bonnie, any special comfort tricks?
I just make sure that I'm really warmed up. I'm a dancer first, but I make sure that I have a routine for myself where I really do, a thorough. I'm in my body when I walk out there. It's never cold. I just take that time for myself to really warm up. So that's a really great thing to feel like you've been sweating. Well, you know, that's me, because I want to be able to feel blood, you know, and I don't want fear. So usually, like if you've run a lot and you can do anything because you just feel like powerful. And so even if you're chill, when you start, you still want to feel like you could be, you know, anything at that every time. I so agree with Darcy that your intention when you're on stage is everything. And I'll just mention for the group I'm in, a lot of performers who do taiko, we're really aware of what's around us and staging and blocking. But a lot of people that we've worked with, guest melodic musicians, have maybe not had to have that kind of thrust in a very dynamic three-dimensional way to be performers in the same way that I feel we have to be. It's kind of like dance and acting and being music and musician at once. So we've focused on helping the person who is the least comfortable being in that position be comfortable, because when you're looking at a group, the person who isn't with you and isn't focused in the same headspace, mind space, conversation, coffee, meeting, they're the person who's thinking, you know, something else, like they're just not with you. That's where everyone will start staring, is that what is that person thinking or doing? So along with how to make your show special, it's just being aware that everything counts, and that means every person on stage. It's not like you're drilling, you have to be focused on me and stuff. It's just, you know, be present. Everyone needs to be present. You can have your own thoughts, but we're all in this boat and we're all making it go in the same direction. And that's just something not to overlook, but makes them feel included. And I love when Krystle said she will also allow, you know, introduce people on stage and allow their shine to shine, because the more characters that people understand why and how this group of people exists together is just wonderful for people. You know, they love the characters as well as the star, you know, they love the whole ensemble. So I think that's really a shining thing when people can actually say, I think I know those people, you know, not just I know that one person, but you just allow people to be themselves in a way that makes them shine.
Lola, Nicole had a technical question, which is doing at 10:48.
So Nicole's question here is, if you want to provide something to be projected, is there a recommended file, MP4? Question mark, or change slides on a cue, like the photo of the person you were speaking about. So talking about the technical aspects of sharing the background, kind of like you had mentioned, Krystle, some of the ideas you had around that.
Yeah, I would say like give them a set list. Probably a WAV file is like the highest resolution, highest quality. Not WAV, sorry, that's audio. But you know, like the higher resolution, the better. MP4 would do the trick, but I think that there are probably slightly higher resolution. Lola, you make videos. Do you know anything about that? Like what file format?
MP4 is generally preferred, but it's the pixel count. So you would want to export it in the highest quality, but MP4 is probably going to be the most commonly accessible. So most technology will be able to work with an MP4 file.
Yeah, because you also have to take into consideration, like maybe ask what the dimensions of their screen are. You don't want your stuff to sort of be, you know, stretched out or I can't think of the word right now, but, you know, sort of not as you intended it to look. I wanted to just backtrack on something that Bonnie said in terms of getting comfortable on stage. Like you can make your set list in a way that like you sing a song that helps you warm up literally as you hit the stage, and then your second song is like a little bit more powerful, and then again your third song is the one where you know, if you have nerves on stage, do the most comfortable song you've ever sung that gives you happy feelings as your first song. Like honestly, I did that for years. I played A Long Walk by Jill Scott, the very first song that I ever played, because that song just allowed me to warm up breath wise, because you never stop singing. There are no breaks in that song. But, like there are ways that like you can actually incorporate it on stage. Like I need to get comfortable. So I need to sing my most comfortable, then my second most comfortable. And then I can really like open up and warm up to the audience. Like in a way, you can sing 2 songs without ever introducing yourself. And after the second song, you can say, hey, my name's Krystle Santos. Thanks for coming to the show. You know what I mean? You design it for you. It's very personal. And then another thing was visually, costumes are a big deal, in the dance world, et cetera. But in small ways, we can coordinate our small stage shows in such particular ways by asking our band to just wear band basic blacks, or can everyone wear an element of red today? Or, the dress code is black and white. Can you guys make it your own? Or today's a bit more casual. It's just a party show. Go ahead and wear your jeans and something funky. Like those kinds of things can really change the look of a stage. I do a Motown school show and I ask everybody to wear a white shirt, suit, black tie if it suits you, etc. A long skinny black tie is very different than a bow tie. A little black dress is very different than a gown, depending on what your comfort level is, right? And so tuxedos on stage are going to come across and make a very different impression than jeans and a cool print t-shirt. So you got to make sure to articulate those kinds of things, or at least think about those things for yourself as well. But to go back to Nicole's question in regards to how to switch up the pictures, often like to go back to the original idea of bringing a set list to your lighting designer and saying, here's my file. Can you make sure that this picture goes up at this time on the back screen based on this song? Keep it as simple as possible. So maybe you just have 1 image per song, or say, here's my cue line in the middle of this song. Make it so clear. Like song's name is Butterfly. When I say blank, 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 please put up this image, right? And again, you just have to sort of trust it. If it doesn't work, you got to, but, it has to just sort of be, it seems like it should be more complex than this. And I'm sure that it can be, but I think the most guaranteed way of making things work the way you want it to is to keep it simple and do it as directly as possible. If your technical director is open, these kinds of, just say, I'd like to bring a multimedia screen. I have a couple of cues that I'll put on a set list, and these are the ways that I'd like it done. If you have time for a sound check / tech run before the show, that would be greatly appreciated. And we can just quickly run those, tech cues. And then that way they know what to expect, because they're doing it cold as well, just as much as you know what to expect, or what your expectations are going to be are met, right? Did I answer everything?
I love what Caitlin said about the comfortability on stage with what you're wearing, so you're not distracted. I think this has come up before early on in the season. And speaking of something that has come up before, and I know throughout Emergence we always talk about this, the authenticity, being comfortable being yourself. I think we talk about the lights, the staging, costume, choreography. These are all really important elements of a show that can make it exciting. But to me, I think at the end of the day, you as a friend person, that authenticity, that realness, that openness that you have, that you share with the audience, that's going to be the most important thing that will get you that buy-in from your audience. That's the thing that's going to make them sink into their seats and then go on this ride with you throughout the show. So, I still want to highlight that part.
Yes, and try to create work that you want to see and hear and experience. And recording it is one way to actually, and sitting through every minute is one way of deciding if you're hitting the mark, because your own image does not lie. And I'm sure all of us are painfully aware of what we sound and look like. It's really hard to, watch yourself, but it's so important. So I'd say that's really important to make and create work that you would sit through and endeavor to hear and see. And that's what keeps you striving.
Such wonderful points. We are wrapping up here, so I just want to check if there's any last burning questions. All right, awesome. Well, I hope you all learned as much as I did today. That was a really great session. Thank you so much to our wonderful guest mentor, Bonnie, and our core mentors, Krystle and Darcy. So great to have you, and so great to have all of you mentees here today. That was fantastic. As we mentioned before, this is our last session of Emergence Season 3. So a big, big thank you to all of you for joining us this season. It has been such a delight. We would love to still encourage you to join our WhatsApp group, the alumni Facebook group, and to continue to support and collaborate with each other within the Emergence community. We are not quite sure what our plans are for the coming year for Emergence, but we hope to keep the program going, and we certainly look forward to coming back to you with different programming options, formats, and hopefully in person. That's quite exciting, isn't it? We also would love to share that there is a show coming up on June 7th at Guilt & Co., which I think many of you who joined us at last session will be aware. Krystle has invited Emergence to come and perform. It is under the Harlem Moon show. And so far we have 4 Emergence members performing, in addition to Krystle, as well as 2 additional guests. So please come on down to Guilt & Co. It's from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Come on early to get a seat. Krystle, if there's anything else you'd like to mention about the show, please feel free. And we look forward to seeing as many of you there as possible.
I think that's about it. Honestly, if you want to just come down and throw a song at the band that we know, then we can also just take you real spontaneously as well. So it's just an open, beautiful sharing space for community. And that is the whole point of Underneath the Harlem Moon, to showcase each and every one of you in the moment and the way that you shine best. I can take any last requests today, as I'm going to send the set list off to the band tonight. So if there's any last participants that would like to join us, we would absolutely adore having you. And if you just come and sit in the audience, that would be incredible to meet you all in person too, because we haven't done that in a while, have we? My gosh. Well, so thank you all. I just want to again say a huge thank you to all of you for being here. Week in and month out, it has been such an honor and pleasure to put these sessions together and be a part of them as a mentor and a collaborator. So thank you. It really warms my heart to do these things and to share information with all of you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody. And thank you all for all your work. Love you.
Thank you all so much. So excited to see how you all keep growing and shining, and look forward to seeing many of you at Under the Harlem Moon. Have a wonderful Saturday, everyone.